Hello, this is Cryptolyze. Hope you are doing well. This Tuesday, August 8, 2023, it is with pleasure that I meet you today to talk about UOS, the crypto of the Ultra project. As usual, we will dissect in two parts. A fundamental part, we are going to come back to what Ultra is to the news, and then we will go to the technical part to project ourselves in the short, medium, long term on purchase prices, selling prices, and it starts right away following. Ultra is an infrastructure project that aims to modernize and even transcend the current functioning of video games and mainly video game distribution. To be very precise, it seeks to compete with all things style and derivatives of Steam. So everything that is in fact related to the distribution of video games through a transformation and the implementation of the blockchain to be able to help the interconnection between players, the various advertisers, and video game publishers. The principle is as follows. It is to be able to actually offer an interface that will allow these video games to be distributed in which there will be a quote. So a part that will be much less important than the others. We are talking about 15% versus 30% on, for example, Steam, Google, or Apple, or GoCom, and therefore we are on a platform that allows you to be able to distribute your games, to be able to manage, for example, advertising and therefore advertising directly within your games or in the surrounding ecosystem, and also to interface the users, that is to say the players, directly with the publishers with, for example, the implementation of NFTs, goodies, or the community aspect, which is very strong. And so overall, there are two actions. There are two sides to this. There is an interface that is present for players, precisely, in which we have a certain number of games that are available for purchase, in which we can use the Ultra interface to be able to play directly and be able to buy his game if we wish. And we have the part really made available for video game developers. So there we have a communication that is much more seductive for them, in which we precisely have the importance of attracting new developers and development studios, in which we have the availability of the blockchain in a form of mainstream, with zero transaction fees on almost everything. Well, after that, they mitigate a little bit. They say basically zero as long as it doesn't. There isn't a lot of protocol saturation, but the more protocol saturation there is, the more there will be a small fee that will be raised, and that's relatively low. And in this case, they have made available a way to be able to pay for the players. That is to say that the publishers will be able to put a capital which will be worked with each transaction necessary, and even to go further, it's a blockchain that still has 12 zero transactions per second. So we are still in a level of scalability that is sufficient for something that is really targeted, like UOS. We are really in something that is very targeted. We are really in video game publishers, in transactions within video games, with an ecosystem that makes it possible to put in place the whole notion of blockchain, therefore the notion of NFT, the notion of interconnection and digital uniqueness, therefore elements that are important precisely for the games. On the other hand, we're going to hear that what's going to be complicated at Ultra level, you have to understand that, is that we still have giants in which Activision, for example, which distributes itself its own games, we will have each time, in fact, not necessarily all the studios that will be available, and then even we will not hide that there, when we look at the distribution vectors, we will see Google, Apple, we will see especially Steam, and the complexity of this type of business, it is the principle of the egg and the chicken, that is to say, so that the publishers can use Ultra, that they have an interest in going through Ultra, there have to be players behind, okay? If I go through Ultra, it implies that I will reach a community, and therefore I will have enough interest to be able to broadcast on it because I know that I will reach a lot of players. And the same players come because there are a lot of games. When you're in between, it won't work. What makes Steam strong is the Steam community. It's that there are almost all the players who at some point have gone through Steam. And almost every game pretty much is on Steam. So we have, I don't know, maybe 90% of all current games that are available on Steam. Well, that's what gets people on Steam, and that's what gets publishers on Steam too. How Ultra is going to be able to get past that and get going, it's going to be really complex. Is the advent and implementation of the blockchain for new functionalities, in particular through NFTs, and sufficient? This is the big question that will have to be asked in the 2-3 years to come, because I think it's a bit of temporality. For Ultra to take, it takes at least 3, 4, 5 years, and even a little further, 5 years for it to work. Are they going to have enough funds for this? Are they going to have enough relationships with publishers to be able to get a headline? It only takes one or two headlines to attract enough mass to lure others behind. But you have to be able to get these headlines. How are they going to be able to do that? Is the reduction in fees attractive enough to do so? It will be determined later. Here it is. I've given you all the positive and negative elements. We still don't have the news that arrived at the Ultra level. We have the interface that went into mainnet. We have a lot of things that are incoming. We have games that are coming, but it's still small games. Does it have a platform? Why no independent games? It could be interesting, and so we could be placed in a form of niche, and it could precisely enhance Ultra to then precisely increase thereafter. Why not? It will be, in any case, the elements to follow in order to be able to precisely follow this project. We're attacking the technical part in which we still have a setup that is a little bit special. I'm just going to lighten it up because I forgot to remove all the useless elements. Presto, it's no use, and that's enough. So we are in a momentum here of impulse waves. We are in a momentum that is mostly bullish. We are just going to remove the logarithmic to have a view that is going to be more flat, in which we are going to have a good accumulation than the we find here with a very nice accumulation, breakage, rotes, acceleration. Here we have the break at the end of 2021, finally at the end of the first half of the year, 2021, in which we have the crash, which took place with a retest here, effective. Then we have a grind, which is carried out on the rise, in which we have the establishment of new Heliotis waves for a bullish acceleration and the establishment of a BC, therefore a mine climax at the end of November 2021, before have a retracement here, which took place in ABC, and we are at the end of the retracement with an accumulation force effective here, which more or less corresponds to the spot zone that we have had for some time already. So we're going to zoom into this spot zone to be able to position ourselves and understand a little bit where we are. And you'll see that we have a dynamic that is a little bit special, in which we have. So I'm just going to move a little because it bothers us. Here we have the first stop of the downtrend that took place on Terra Luna, the second breakout with Celsius, and the third breakout that took place with the end of FTX here. FTX, in which we had a relatively strong bearish period. And then we have another breakout with the establishment of the SEC in particular. So what bothers me about that, this type of chart, is that we don't have a bullish break. We still have a downward momentum. There currently, we have no break of structure. We have a bullish breakout. There currently, the lows are lower and lower. We do not forget isking structure. So the structure is essential in this type of chart. And therefore, there, the structure tells us that it is bearish. And it remains bearish as long as that will not reverse. The inversion would be, for example, here, a new top, a new low, a bullish break with a break of structure, a bearish retest, and then a new hike, which is done. So at that time, we would be in a bullish structure. And in this type of bullish structure, we could say that, okay, we have a reversal that is in the process of being put in place. This is not the case. We are still sinking, unfortunately. For me, the target here would be at least the 0.14. So with a little above, in which we would have this lot there, where we will have a retest of this lot point there. But we could go for the 0.1. We could very well go get the 0.1. Why? Because mainly it corresponds to the bottom of the reaccumulation that we had in this zone there, okay? Bullish breakout, bearish breakout, accumulation, bullish acceleration, break of structure. We retest and we start again, okay? There we have a schematic, okay? There we can clearly see that if we have that and we find it here, well, at the moment we'll be off to a good start. That's not the case. Here what we want to look for are highs. So here we already have a break-off structure which gives us good information. We are going to look for a low for the hunt to liquidate. Okay, we see that we are having a high lower. On the other hand, we make a break, so we break all the highs that are there. We will retest, and then we will break the previous high. So there we have, for example, a good entry. And that's what we go look for this type of asset, as long as we don't actually have this element there. Well, we have to take a step back and be patient. As I told you, it's something that will take a lot time to seduce. It's something in which you will have to create a user base. You will have to create a base of publishers and all that. It does not happen overnight. The tech is present. The tech works. We have proof. Now we need the rest. We need the business model that is being put in place with the users and publishers. So what could we set as an objective on a bullish breakout? That means we're done making batches here. We're getting a high. We're retesting and we're breaking two. What can we set here as a target? For me, the first target would be this area, the 1-2, the 1-5. In this whole area, we have people who are blocked in negative, clearly in EOS. So we will have a lightening of position. And people who will have returned to the lowest point, therefore who will have potentially returned here, we are already potentially doing on X10. So here we will end up with people who will take profits, which is normal, and therefore behind people who are negative by less than 90%, they will lighten their position. So we risk having a big retracement, and then we could go a little higher. But for me, it's the first target I'll set myself. And if we ever get to the end of 2, 3, 4, 5 years to have something running well, to have users, publishers who are continuously using Ultra, at that time we could project ourselves on a wave of 3 Elliotism wave with a usual target of 1.618. We are just going to replace 1.618, where we could go and get almost the $4 for UOS. But here we are really on the very long term on a project which unfortunately does not yet have a relatively strong user base. So you have to understand the risks of this type of investment already. For me, the first rate would really be here. Go get the 1.2, 1.5. When we get there, depending on the reaction of the price at that time there, we can ask ourselves the question whether or not we can accelerate upwards with speculation, or do we have fundamental news that tells us that we can potentially go higher? And that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed this video. If so, don't miss the video I did yesterday on DOT, Polkadot, Crypto, and KSL. I put the link there, and we'll meet tomorrow morning 7 for a daily news.